All right, perfect. So, hello, ladies, and welcome to the three wellness myths keeping women stuck. My name is Cash, and I'm going to be your guide on our journey today. My goals for you today is to understand exactly what's been keeping you stuck, but not just that, but also how to create real lasting wellness in your life without it feeling so overwhelming. So today we're going to go through the three myths together. We're going to talk through a framework that will help you to overcome each. And then we're going to create a plan so that this actually sticks and it's not something that you start and stop. And I have a special bonus for everybody who is able to stay to the end. I created a special little swag bag for everybody. So make sure to wait till the end so you can get access to that. All right. So, hello, my name is Cash. I'm a mom. I have a 2.5-year-old running around doing circles around me all day. I'm a yoga teacher. I'm a wellness coach. I create affirmation cards, and I love weightlifting, and I love helping women shed the last 15 pounds without giving up their favorite foods or spending hours every single day doing cardio. And I like to teach this through mindful eating and targeted fat burning workouts. So, before we even dive into anything, I do want to share a little bit about my story so you guys aren't like, how does she even know what she's talking about? What makes her even qualified? So, I grew up significantly overweight. At my heaviest, I was 235. At my lowest, I was 155. Now I kind of hover somewhere between like 185, 190. Full disclosure, I did have a baby, so things changed significantly. But I grew up significantly overweight. And when I went to school, that's when I really got into health and fitness. I lost 75 pounds and it did not happen overnight. It actually took 2 years to lose that initial weight. And then beyond that, even more years to really get the habits and really get the nutrition. And so I always like to tell people this is not an overnight process. Not only does your body need time to lose the weight, but you also need time to build the habits. So after my initial weight loss journey, I started working at a small boutique style fitness gym and I just fell in love with it. That led to me eventually opening up my own studio with my business partner. And we saw hundreds of men, of women, and we together combined in 5 years of operation lost 1,000 pounds of weight, which I'm really proud of because it's really challenging. And I think it's amazing to watch people not just learn how to eat for their body, but to also be able to sustain it. I've done bodybuilding competitions before, so I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I've been significantly overweight and I've been significantly underweight. In 2020, with the pandemic, we decided to transform the studio and to do everything online. And that's when I started my affirmation cards. I got pregnant. I started doing wellness retreats. And now it's kind of coming full circle where we have our online community where I'm able to help women to lose the weight, to keep it off, and to do it together. Because, it's one thing to know how to lose the weight, but it's another thing to have the community because that's what really makes the difference in the consistency and the accountability and being able to sustain for the long term. So that is a little bit about me in short, but I've worked with hundreds of women, hundreds of men, and really was given the opportunity to learn, at the bare basics, this is what works for everybody. If you follow this routine consistently, you will see your body begin to transform. So these are the myths. And I want you to drop a number in the comment, one, two, or three. Which one do you feel like you struggle with the most? So the three myths are myth number one, I need motivation to get started. If this is the one for you, drop a one in the comments. Let me know where you are. Myth number two, healthy eating means restriction. If you're number two, drop a two in the comments for me. And then myth number three, I just need to try harder. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing it right. I just need to try harder. Who are my threes? So one, twos, and threes. Drop it in the comment. Let me know where you are. Okay, I see them coming through. Michelle three, Tashana two, Lisa one, Nandi two, Andrea one. Okay, awesome. Awesome. So we're going to talk through each of these myths and come up with the framework so how we can flip it and actually make it doable for you. So, myth number one, I need motivation to get started. So, I hear this all the time, not feeling motivated to move. And it's so normal. We all lack motivation, and relying on motivation is like relying on somebody that you know is a flake. Sometimes they come through, but most times they don't. But, you're always hoping that that motivation comes through and kicks in. But motivation is honestly really flaky. And so, what do we do when we don't ever have the motivation to start? We do the minimum. And we do the minimum because it's signaling to our brain that, hey, this thing is important. Hey, this thing matters, even if it's just 5 minutes, even if it's just 2 minutes. Doing that 1 minute worth of activity, that 2 minutes worth of activity tells your brain, hey, this thing is a priority for me. So, what happens is when we feel like we don't have the motivation to do X, Y, and Z thing, it just becomes the thing that we put on the back burner. So the habit then becomes, I want to drink a protein shake, but I don't really feel like it, and so I'm not going to do it. But if you buy your protein powder or you buy that pre-made protein shake, maybe your 5 minutes or your 1% is putting it where you can see it every day. So you're signaling to your brain that, hey, this thing is important for me. And so this myth becomes harmful because instead of moving you to act, it actually creates a pattern of an action. So you just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. It's almost like procrastination, where the longer we procrastinate, and I say this because I fall into it myself, but the longer we procrastinate in doing something, the harder it is to start. And so, what I like to recommend for this is the 5 minute rule. 5 minutes of activity just to get you started. So, if motivation to work out, to move is what you struggle with, that 5 minutes count. A lot of times we feel like, man, what is 5 minutes going to do? What is 2 minutes going to do? That 2 minutes is so much more significant than your complete inaction, because everything happens up here. And so if you can convince your mind to do that 5 minutes, to get up and start it and do it, you not only get the mental response, but you get the physical response, because your body actually has to go through the action. And so that's how I started. A lot of people will ask me, how did you lose 75 pounds and how have you been able to keep it off for a decade? And I started extremely small. I started with just 15 minutes a day, twice a week. And I would walk for 5 minutes, I would jog for 5 minutes, and I would walk for 5 minutes. And I did that for months. And that's how I got started. And I only did it 2 days out of the week. And so if you're hearing that little voice in your head say, oh, that 2 minutes doesn't matter, that 5 minutes isn't a big deal, tell that little voice to shut up, because it does not know what it's talking about. That 5 minutes does, in fact, matter. That 2 minutes does make a difference. I heard somebody say once that she treats the negative voice that's on repeat in her mind like a drunk man on a bench. If you were walking down, in a park and you heard a drunk guy just screaming belligerently or saying whatever on a bench, you wouldn't actually take his words seriously. And that's the same for that negative voice that tends to be on repeat. We can't take that serious. So that 5 minutes counts. So that is my first framework. That is my first suggestion for you if you struggle with motivation. The second thing is habit stacking. Who here has heard of habit stacking or is familiar with habit stacking? You can just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the comments, but just trying to get an idea of who is familiar with habit stacking. Never heard of it. Have not heard of it. Thank you, ladies. So, habit stacking is essentially where you put a new habit into habits that you are already doing. So, an example of this could be when I make my coffee in the morning, I'm going to take my vitamins. And so that's habit stacking. If making your coffee every morning is the thing that you already do, and the vitamins are the new things that you want to add in, you're going to pair them together because you're already making the coffee. And so, right after you make the coffee, you're going to take your vitamins, and that's your habit stack. I'm going to show you all a few other examples of this. Okay. After 10 years. Okay, could you guys hear that? Okay. Just give me thumbs up, thumbs down if you can hear finally this. Figured out how to put sunscreen on my face. Yes, okay, perfect. All right. After 10 years, I finally figured out how to put sunscreen on my face every day without forgetting. I looked at all the activities that I do every day. I brush my teeth, I go to the bathroom, I shower. It takes 75 seconds for me to put my sunscreen on my face. I was like, is there anything else that I do that I would have time where I can have greasy stuff on my hands and have time to like get it off and it won't interrupt my day? I drink coffee every day. And so what I did was I put my sunscreen next to where I drink coffee so that when I have my coffee in between, I put the stuff on. In so doing, I was able to pair a habit that I always do no matter what with one that I wanted to do, and it doesn't cost me more time. And so if you can add the habit without adding the time, you make it convenient to do the thing. And that's why this ends up working. So that's one example. And then I want to show you all one more.
Habit stacking is the concept of doing something you already do every day with a new habit that you want to implement. And pairing something that you do automatically with a new habit makes it easier to integrate into your life without having to think about it every single day. So, for example, one of mine is taking my vitamins every day after breakfast. So, breakfast is something I do automatically. I'm hungry in the morning. I don't really have to think about that. So, I started taking my vitamins right after breakfast every single day. And that became a habit too. And now it's to the point where I feel like breakfast isn't actually complete until I've had my vitamins. Another one that I like is watching a TV show and stretching for 10 minutes because I always want to be more flexible and practice my stretching routine, but I never really make time for it. But I found that if I'm watching YouTube videos or TV, it actually makes it more enjoyable. It really does make a difference over time. Another one is placing a water glass by my coffee machine at night. And that way in the morning when I make my coffee, I remember to drink a glass of water first. And if you're curious about the vitamins I take Rituals Women's 18 Plus. They're vegan friendly.
Here. Okay. Awesome. All right, does that make sense for everybody? Can you guys already start to think of maybe one thing that you can habit stack? So, new habit and then old habit. So, can you guys already think about something that you're already doing throughout the day, every single day, or throughout the week? And the new habit that you can stack with it. If anybody can think of any examples personally, please share in the chat. Just kind of want to make sure that we're all on the same page with this. Nandi, I have fallen off of taking vitamins. Yeah. And so hopefully, now you're thinking in the morning when you have your breakfast, you can take your vitamins. And so another way to kind of think about habit stacking is a little bit like multitasking, but not. It's like you're kind of using that time while you're already doing something to get something else done. Let's see. Michelle says, pulling the treadmill out and getting on it when I'm watching TV. Yes, I love that. And again, it doesn't have to be long. You can say, you know what, I'm just going to walk until the first commercial break. And that's what you do. It can be just that simple. Yes, Tashana says, make a protein shake while I make my coffee in the morning. Yes, doing squats while I do my skincare routine in the morning. Yes, I love that. I love that. These are wonderful examples of how you can start to habit stack. Something else that somebody else mentioned is while you are folding up your clothes to listen to a podcast. So I know that's not necessarily physical, but if there's something that you are trying to watch or something that you're trying to learn, you can do it while you're folding your clothes or do it while you're cooking, seasoning your meats. Maybe you listen to your favorite audiobook while you're seasoning your chicken to prep your food for the week. And so you can almost think of habit stacking like a treat, you know. So for those of you guys who have dogs like I do, you know, sometimes when we have to give our dogs medicine, we have to wrap it up in peanut butter for them to take it. And so habit stacking is the same way. And so kind of start to think about what are some ways that I can wrap this taking my vitamins up in peanut butter so I can get my vitamins down but still enjoy it, and it's a little bit more palatable to do. Let's see. Yes, Pamela said affirmations while preparing breakfast. Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. Let's see. Nandi says, I'm listening to you and seasoned chicken. I love it. I love it. You're already on point. Let's see. Lisa says, more fruit, no salt. So are you saying to instead of more fruit, no salt, I'm looking for the habit stack. I feel like I'm there with you. More fruit, less salt. So maybe instead of adding a lot of salt to your food, you add a little bit of more fruit. Um, and so I'm not sure if you guys are comfortable with ChatGPT, but if you are comfortable with using ChatGPT, another suggestion is to say, Chat, give me suggestions. You know, these are the three things, these are the three habits I want to incorporate every single day. Give me ideas for how I can habit stack these habits into things that I'm already doing. And it may not necessarily give you things that you already do, but it will help to give you ideas for those habits that you are specifically looking to stack. Okay, awesome. Lemon juice instead of salt. No worries. Okay, nice. Nice. All right. So, myth number two. Let's come back over here. Uh-oh. All right. Myth number two. Healthy eating means restriction. So often we feel that we have to give everything up in order to eat healthy. And oftentimes it's not that we have to give everything up, it's that we have to reframe. Unfortunately, we live in a time where a lot of our foods are extremely calorically dense, and that pretty much just means we have a little bit amount of food that has a lot of calories. And so the food that we naturally gravitate to, like fast food or restaurant food, you know, it can be one serving, one meal, but that one meal can actually be enough calories to last you through the day. And so the goal here is to have that balance where 80% of your food is coming from whole food sources, and the other 20% you can enjoy with flexibility. And so the goal here is finding that balance so that you're not just eating all these healthy foods and you're never enjoying the foods that you love, but you find how you can still enjoy the foods that you love in moderation. But 80% of the time, you're eating clean, and we're working through the swaps to still enjoy the foods that are clean in a way that reminds you of the foods that you love. And so I always love to recommend the 80/20 approach. So 80% of the time, we're eating clean whole foods. 20% of the time, we can cheat and have whatever we like. And so this picture right here on this slide, feel free to take a screenshot of it. This is what I recommend your plate should look like. So protein, mostly protein, about 30 to 40% protein, about 25, maybe 30% carb, and then about 15-ish percent of fat, and then at least half a cup of veggies, but veggies you can have unlimited. So I put that there to remind you to add your veggies to the plate, but I'm not as concerned about portion sizes when it comes to veggies. And so I have another video because I love to show demonstrations that kind of demonstrate the caloric density of foods. Okay. Uh-oh, let's see. I'm not hearing the sound. Here we go. Okay.
3,500 calories versus 1,500 calories and a dessert. Both sides are healthy and they look the same. Let's see why. Greek yogurt bowls. We go from half a cup of almonds, 3 dates, to a quarter cup of almonds, and we remove the dates. Not because dates aren't good, but because we already had enough fiber. Lunch, medium ground beef,
to lean ground beef, 1 avocado to a quarter avocado, 2 tablespoons of olive oil to saute the broccoli and peppers, 2 grilled peppers and steamed broccoli. Dinner, 2 cups of rice to a half a cup of rice. Salad with almonds and olive oil, 2 cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, and olives. Dessert, just because you're trying to lean down doesn't mean you can't have ice cream. And just because you're eating healthy doesn't mean you don't have to monitor your calories. And that's the point of this video. We do not remove any food groups here.
And so, another takeaway I want you guys to notice is planning. And so, there is some level of planning, not that you need to have like, a 2 hour planning session on what am I going to eat today. But, when you wake up in the morning, think through your day. What am I going to eat? What am I going to have for breakfast? So often as women, we're always serving others. We're always doing for others. We're always giving of ourselves that we put ourselves on the back burner. And usually by the time we realize we're hungry, we're starving and it's kind of too late. By the time we get starving, it's just like, forget it. All plans, all goals, all intentions go out of the window and whatever's closest is what's getting eaten. And so a lot of times we can avoid that starving, I'm going to eat, a shoe if I could, by just planning at the beginning of the day. Okay, what am I going to eat? What is my schedule looking like? What am I going to have? Let me have this shake before I leave the house. I've got my lunch with chicken and rice and broccoli waiting for me. I know that it might be a stressful day, so maybe I'm going to plan to have half of a muffin, and that's going to be my cheat for the day. And then in the evening, I'm going to have my clean dinner. And so sometimes it's just a matter of actively thinking, what is going to be my 20% for the day? And that kind of gives you something to look forward to so that you can really make that 80% count and you can enjoy your 20% without feeling bad about it. And so I have another one that kind of shows that caloric density side by side. And so I really appreciated that video because it kind of shows, I have definitely had my binge moments, but he demonstrated how much, that whole chocolate bar was the equivalent of a whole day's worth of food. And so sometimes slowing down, thinking through what we're having can help us to avoid overeating foods that they really don't even taste good. After a certain point, it's like you're just kind of eating just to eat without actually being mindful and enjoying the food as you have it. And then I've got one more. These are just these swaps to hopefully give you all ideas that you can do. Awesome. All right. And we haven't gotten too much into that on this call, but protein goes a long way in helping you to feel satiated and helping you to feel satisfied from your meals. Lisa, you got me with the chips. Yay. Okay, good. That's a win. Um, Michelle, sorry you couldn't. The last two videos were just instrumentals. So hopefully it's just music. It wasn't actual, they weren't talking through the last two, Michelle. So let's move on to our third and final myth. Uh-oh, still here. Sorry, you all, okay, here we go. All right, myth number three. I just need to try harder. So this is the cycle that we kind of go on. We try to do all the things and it leads to burnout. You know, who has been there before? Drop a one in the comments if you've been there before where you're trying to do all the things, but you just get burnt out. You're just not able to sustain and do it forever. And I don't know about you all, but if you're anything like me, when I have that burnout, the first thing I do is go back to my bad habits. I go back to my old habits, I crash, and then the shame comes where it's like, oh my gosh, I messed up again. How did I get back here again? And then it's like, okay, well, let me try to get back up and do better. We get back to that overwhelmed feeling, and then we go back into that burnout. And it's just this loop that continues to happen. And so sometimes the answer is not trying to do more, but it's figuring out what can I do with what I have? What is the 1% that I can do to get better? And that's something that I love to teach the ladies in our community is 1%. I am so passionate about the 1%. We already talked about walking for 5 minutes. I apply that logic to everything, especially in my coaching. What is the 1% that you can do? Because at the end of the day, it's not realistic if you're going to say, all right, I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to eat 1,500 calories, I'm going to wake up and journal every day and read my affirmations every day, I'm going to eat 5 meals a day. It's not realistic. That's just not going to happen. But what is the 1%? What is the one thing that you can do? And I love to teach my ladies the menu movement mindset formula. So if there's even 1% that you can improve in your menu, 1% that you can improve with your movements, 1% that you can improve with your mindset, what's the smallest thing that you can break it down to create change? Because a lot of times change is not this huge overhaul that we anticipate it to be. Change is just the one small thing that we do every single day consistently. And we look back like, oh my gosh, I climbed a mountain. But it's like you didn't really feel it because you only took one small step forward every day. You know, imagine running up a mountain versus taking one step up a mountain each day. Yes, it's going to take you longer, but I bet you the person who runs up is more likely to stop or to burn out than the person who's taking one step at a time consistently over time. And so this video kind of gives us a nice illustration of building new habits.
Here's a secret to making new habits stick. Now, here's a goal that you set for yourself. And here is all the work you have to do to get there. Progress is going to be slow because you can only do it step by step. At this point, you're either going to get overwhelmed and give up, or you feel that surge of motivation, go all out, give it everything, and focus on the end result. Before long, your motivation starts to dwindle when you realize still such a long way to go. But rather than focus entirely on the outcome, focus instead on building a new sense of identity centered around the process. Remind yourself this is just what you do now. It's a part of who you are. So instead of just waiting for the reward of reaching that end goal, the satisfaction comes from the routine of keeping that promise to yourself. So rather than chasing results, eventually the results find you. If you want help getting your new habits to stick, check out my new program, Only on Calm. Here's a secret to make.
I love that video because it beautifully demonstrates what real transformation is all about. It's you're becoming a new person, you know? So if you're just focusing on, I got to do this, I got to do that to reach this goal, and then once I reach this goal, I'll be done, you're approaching it all wrong because you are becoming the person who eats right. You're becoming the person who moves their body. You're becoming the person who has better mental conversations with themselves. And so you're going through the process. And in a lot of ways, you have to allow yourself to sort of become the observer of your habits as you go through this process because you're shifting your identity. So when you feel that itch of, I've been doing right for so long, but I just want to break out, observe that itch, that need to go back to old ways and say, okay, well, what's the 1% that I can do where I'm not completely throwing everything away, but I'm still putting one step forward? And then the next thing when it comes to changing your habits is your circle. So I did a master class on habits, and the two things that were shared about the biggest determinants for changing your habit is one, your environment, and two, your social circle. So if you have a home, you're coming home and there's triggers everywhere, there's junk food everywhere, you're going to be more likely to fall back into your old ways because you see it. Everything is mental. So your eye sees that bag of Lay's and it's like, it's just right there, But if it's not there, excuse me, in its absence, you're way less likely to go out of your way to get it because it's not there. And then next, your social circle. So this is the next thing that I attribute my success to is surrounding myself with other people who were into fitness, other people who enjoyed working out and eating right. And that's what helped for me to really stick, being around other people, being around my peers and seeing, okay, we're kind of in this together. If your group of friends is always telling you, oh, it's just won't drink, one drink won't kill you, or it's just a bite of this won't kill you, those aren't real friends. I mean, it's one thing if they're just being playful, like, oh, take a break. But if you tell your friend, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. This is serious to me. I'm really working towards this. And they're still encouraging you to the opposite. You might have to think through that relationship, that friendship. And conversely, if you have a friend who's always encouraging you, hey, let's work out together, or let's go for a walk together, or, let's go try this new healthy spot together, that's a friend that you want to stick by because just associating with that person is going to make it that much more likely for you to be consistent with your habits. All right.
Take a look at this Abraham Lincoln quote and think about it. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. Whenever you set out to achieve something, it might come in handy to invest a lot in the tools that you're going to be using. When one has a goal, one should devote resources to the means one uses for achieving this goal. Let's say that our goal is to have a good life. Were we to apply Lincoln's lesson to this goal, what would that amount to? Got it? What do you think? It's your lucky day. I thought really hard about these issues. The answers might surprise you. What instruments are available for living better, whatever that means exactly, and how can we enhance them? The most important tool at our disposal for living a better life is other people. The people we surround ourselves with are the biggest influence on our behavior, attitudes, and results. Who you are around, what they've got you thinking, saying, doing, and becoming sets the course of your life. In the words of motivational speaker Jim Rohn, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The people you spend the most time with shape who you are. They determine what conversations dominate your attention. They affect which attitudes and behaviors you are regularly exposed. Eventually, you start to think like they think and behave like they behave. As Darren Hardy writes in The Compound Effect, according to research by social psychologist Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, the people you habitually associate with determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. That's huge, and it has important consequences. The dream in your heart may be bigger than the environment in which you find yourself. Sometimes you have to get out of that environment to see that dream fulfilled. It's a fact of life that some people hold us back, while others propel us forward. That's just the way it is. So you might as well accept it and learn how to deal with it instead of wishing that reality was different. For instance, you can't hang out with negative people and expect to have a positive life. More importantly, if you do all the right things, but don't get around people who hold you to a higher standard, then you are more likely to fail. The lesson here is to actively construct your social environment. Don't let it depend on proximity or chance or on how it has always been, but consciously plan which options, attitudes, and life philosophies you do and do not allow to be in your life. These days, people are keen to emphasize that everyone lives in his or her own bubble. In that case, we might as well try to make sure that our bubble is the one that rises highest, the one that makes us reach our goals. Let's take the final step. We started by comparing living well with chopping down Lincoln's tree. But now we can reformulate that. Instead of trying to chop down a tree, we are trying to live well. And instead of sharpening our axe, we are assembling our team. At this point, you probably want to know how to select team members, which criteria to use for engineering your social context. Be that as it may, the goal of this video is to make you think about that. And I don't write life hacky stuff, so I can't give you a concrete action plan here.
All right, I hope that has got you all thinking in a new way about how you associate, who you associate with, and how you can do small things to change your habits. So, our goal here is to not rely on motivation, but it's to rely on our habits because at the end of the day, our habits are what's running our life. 90% of what we do based off habit. Think about the last place you drove. Were you really thinking about the drive and driving the car as you were driving the car? Were you thinking about your day and the next things that you have to do? Your habit is what drives the car. You're not actually presently driving the car. And so these are ways to support your changing your habits. One, changing your environment, and two, changing your social circle. So I kind of hinted at this before, but what you need is a wellness framework. So your menu, knowing what foods to eat to fuel your body, your movement, consistently moving your body and knowing which activity works best for your body, and your mindset. So this is that negative voice, learning how to quiet the negative voice, knowing how to stay consistent when you're feeling the call to fall off. And this is what I love to teach the women in our community is how to make this a lifestyle. And this is not to say that you will never fall off again. This is to anticipate the fact that you will fall off, as well as, okay, I know I'm going to fall off. I know life is going to get crazy. What's that 1% that I can lean back on to help me get back on track? And so I want to share a few client wins with you. So this is Tiffany. She's a mom of two. She says, I told myself I could just do 5 minutes of yoga after I put my son to bed. Some days I stopped there, but most days I kept going. 3 weeks in, I realized I was moving 3 to 4 times a week without dreading it. And this is Andrea. She shared that she made tacos with her family and she did not feel like she had to skip the tortilla. We actually worked together to find a swap, a healthy swap, and she didn't feel bad about it. I used your plate method and ate the taco and actually felt full and satisfied. And so I would love to give you guys a taste of the menu movement mindset method using my 5-day detox challenge. So this is my flagship course, most people lose between 5 to 8 pounds of water weight, but I always love to preface this by saying that this is not a quick weight loss. This is not a rapid weight loss program. This is not your average detox. This detox is specifically designed to help you to reset your habits. So this is like everything that we've talked about here. This is like a jump start to help you be consistent. And so the goal here is to reset your thinking, your approach to food, your approach to movement, but then also help to give you a small win because who wouldn't mind losing 5 pounds in a week? You know, even if it is just water weight, who wouldn't mind their pants feeling a little bit looser, you know, and what that does for your mindset is just amazing. And so everything that's included in the detox is a easy to follow detox plan. I lay out exactly what you have and it's very simple. It's a shake for breakfast, it's a salad for lunch, and it's protein and veggies for dinner. And we do that Monday through Friday. It's a 5-day detox. You get access to our supportive community, so you'll be able to get inside access to our Moments of Motivation Collective for the 5 days. I also go live every single day. And I think this is probably the most valuable part of the detox is being able to connect with the other women. So we share our wins, we share our losses, and we're able to talk through the challenges that we face. And you can ask questions, you know, and really get guidance for not just the 5 days, but beyond. And I always love to make it fun with the challenge. So you also have the chance to win $150 just from participating. And if you join us, you'll get to learn more about how to win inside. And so if you're on the fence, this is for you if you've fallen off and you want to get back on track. This is for you if you're tired of bloating, fatigue, and last minute meals. If you're craving a routine that actually feels doable. I can't tell you how many women end the detox saying, you know what, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's actually really easy, really simple, and I feel so much better. I did not get to include their reviews in here, but Lee and Anita, two ladies who did the last detox challenge, have done the detox twice more since we did it back in June because it was just that easy for them to follow. And each time that they've done it, they've both lost 5 pounds individually. So 10 pounds between the two of them, 20 pounds total from the first one to the second one altogether. This is for you if you want a quick win to boost your motivation. Like I said, motivation can be flaky, but it would feel good to have that, you know, loose feeling pants, and it's going to motivate you to continue on to your healthy habits. And if you want to feel lighter, clearer, and more in control, I think that's one of the most rewarding things about this detox is it puts you back in control because I'm not sure if you guys are like me, but sometimes it can feel like you're not even in control of your food. It's like, who's in control here? Is it the food or is it me? I'm not sure, trying to figure out. But this detox helps to put you back in control because you're actively choosing which foods that you're going to have. And so, yes, we are eliminating certain foods for the 5-day period, but you do get to have a cheat meal on the last day, which is Friday. So here's another case study. Mamai says, what made the 5-day detox so powerful for me wasn't just the meal plan, it was the accountability. There's something special about being a part of a group of people who are all striving toward the same goal. We shared our wins, our challenges, and our encouragement. That sense of community kept me going on the days I felt tempted to fall off. Every day, the detox came with a clear goal, and that structure was exactly what I needed. It wasn't overwhelming or rigid. In fact, after day one, I found myself thinking, wait, this is actually doable. I could keep going longer than 5 days. By the end of the week, I had lost 6 pounds. And so Mamai did our detox. I want to say she did it at the end of last year, and she has not gained any of the weight back. She's actually gone to the doctor, and the doctor said that she has lost 15 pounds. And again, the detox was her jump start. She continued these habits following the detox, and her body continued to release weight. And that's my goal for you is that you'll get those quick wins, but that this will be the start of a turning point for you where you're continuing your healthy habits. Here's Bianca's case study. The detox gave me the wake up call I needed, especially around hydration, sleep, and emotional regulation. Once I began drinking enough water and prioritizing rest, I noticed a huge difference in my mood, energy, and my focus at work. I felt lighter in my body, clearer in my mind, and more confident overall. And here's Tiffany. I just completed Cash's 5-day detox. I'm beyond proud of myself. While it definitely wasn't easy, knowing it was only 5 days made it feel more manageable. The support was incredible throughout the process. The daily check ins and hearing her share her own challenges kept me motivated. My favorite part was the many lessons shared. They were packed with valuable insights that truly helped me along the way. I learned how to set myself up for success, manage stress more effectively, build healthier habits, and understand the best foods to fuel my body based on my fitness goals. You get so much in just 5 days. And so you get the allowed foods list, you get your detox plan, you get a post detox meal plan, you get post detox workouts, you get the group, access to the group, community, all for just $49. And you get a little extra bonus if you sign up. In the next 24 hours, you'll be added to the community early, so you'll actually get 2 weeks in the community instead of just the one. And so once again, the easy to follow detox menu, you get the allowed foods list and the grocery guide, you get daily coaching and support and check-ins, you get the mental detox plan, you get the post detox strategies and recipes, and you get daily affirmations. And a fun bonus, you get the 4-week post detox hit workout plan. So this is for you if you're ready for something new, if you're ready for a change. We kick off on Monday, August 25th. And if you are ready to join and save your spot, you can scan this QR code to access. If you are a member of the Moments of Motivation Collective, you're good. You already get access to the 5-day detox as my guest. But if you would like to join us, you're not in the community, scan this QR code and you'll get access to it. Does anybody have any questions or anything at all? Any questions about the detox or anything at all that we've discussed today? So the startup process for the detox, you'll scan the QR code, do your registration. From there, you'll get an email with the program guides. You'll get added to the community. And then we have an orientation Sunday, August 24th. So that's the day before at 4:30. And I go over the entire guide with everybody. If you have any questions, you can ask questions at that time. But you will have access to the guide as soon as you register. And then if you do have questions, you can email me or you can ask the questions at orientation. If you're in the community, you should already have access to the guide so you can start looking at it now and going through it before we get started on Monday. Oh, let's see. Where can we find the food list? Okay, so Michelle did. I think, Michelle, I may have sent you the link, and it should be in the link that I sent you. You'll see the guide, and the food list is included within the guide. Tashana, excited to get started. Yes, I'm excited too. I think this is going to be such an awesome group. Um, any other questions? Michelle, I'll send the link to you. I thought I sent you the link, but I'll send the link to you again where you can download the guide. And then takeaways. I want to hear your biggest takeaways from the call today. So, what's one thing that you are walking away with from our 3 myths masterclass? Drop it in the comments. Let me know what has been your biggest takeaway today. Let's see. Nandi says the 80-20 rule. Michelle, myth 3, need to get out of the rat race. Love the video. Yay. So glad. Biggest takeaways. I want to hear at least a takeaway from everybody. If possible, if you're driving, then I understand. But I would love to hear at least one takeaway from everybody if you're on the call. And Michelle, I'm going to text you again the link to the detox guide. So hopefully you'll be able to um, access it there. Let's see. Pamela says, change my contacts. Wait, do you mean like your contacts to see or like your friends? Because if you mean your friends, that's kind of funny. But if you mean your contacts, then I get that too. Lisa says 80-20 rule. Tashana says habit stacking and starting small. Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Michelle, you're welcome. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So these are a few other common questions that we get is how much time will it take? So the detox is 5 days. The live call that we do for the detox is usually about 30-ish minutes. It's not super long. I know like most people are kind of on their lunch break at noon, so I try to keep it pretty short. Um, what have I tried? Everything before. Most approaches focus solely on food or exercise. So this framework really focuses on addressing your mindset. And that's a big piece is changing your perspective because how you see it is going to determine how you approach it. Will this work with my specific health condition? So I always recommend talking to your healthcare provider first if you do have concerns about starting a new nutrition plan. Let's see, Andrew says, need to make movement a part of my habit stacking. Yes. So, making movement a part of your habit stacking, listening to your podcast while you're walking, watching your show while you're walking, walking with a friend. Um, so many different things, so many different ways, or even, I'm going to do 10 squats every time I brush my teeth, or, maybe every time I let the dogs outside, I'll do 10 jumping jacks. And you try that. I know those are kind of quirky, but um, there's always small ways. And Andrea, you and I can definitely talk more about that and figuring out how we can habit stack more movement into your plan. All right, everyone. Thank you so very much. It has been so much fun to connect with you all, and I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you got some juicy takeaways from this. I will be sending out the replay this time since I remembered to record. So if you do want the replay, you'll have access to that. If you want to sign up for the detox, again, if you sign up within the next 24 hours, you'll get access to the community before the detox actually starts. You can join us for $49, and that includes everything that you need. And then, of course, you also get the chance to win $150 at the end just for staying consistent. Awesome, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for showing up for yourselves today. And I look forward to connecting with you all soon. Take care and have a great evening. Bye, everyone.